Hi, my name is Keith Cooper from Northlight Images. Now, the other day I showed you using the Epson P20500 down at Epson's demo centre, making a couple of big prints. Now, I've made other prints on this before, including this one here, which is about 60-inch roll paper. This way goes right up to the ceiling, and this is probably about 60 by 40, this particular one. But anyway, people have asked me, how much does it actually cost to make prints like that? Well, it turns out that the Epson software that is available, it's cloud-based software, and it's used for printer management in big companies and things like that. But so it supports some smaller printers as well, like the P20500, I believe. But it allows you to get a breakdown of costs and ink usage. Now, there are all sorts of other costs and things that come into play, such as the £15,000 you need for the printer and the ink in the first place. But how expensive is it to make big prints like this? Well, I don't have the precise details on this one, but this is about the two I made the other day. One of them was 60-inch by 60-inch, printed on 64-inch paper, so effectively a custom media size of 64-inch square. And the other one was on Epson Premium Luster, which this particular one is as well. Prints this size, you do have to be careful in handling them. That's why I didn't get that one out. I was on my own. So I will be coming back to that big print that I made, the big blue sky and sea and beach picture with the moon in the corner. But the other one I made was a black and white print. This was done on smooth paper, a smooth fine art cotton rag. I can't remember which one. I put a note in it as to which one it was, the actual paper. But anyway, two papers, one black and white print, one colour print. What did they cost? Well, this is the sort of copy of the screen from the large colour print. And I can see from this in ink costs, it said, it used a total of 16 millilitres of ink. That's for a 60-inch by 60-inch print area. And with the ink costs for the P20500, that cost £3.08 in ink costs. That means this one, which is smaller, this one was, I don't know, perhaps 2/3 of that. So what are we saying? £2, less than £2.50 ink costs for this giant print here. The bit where cost comes in, what about the media? Well, it's a relatively cheap media, is the Premium Luster, perfectly good paper. And that cost, this is for the 60-inch by 60-inch print on 64-inch roll paper, that cost £18.33. So the total cost to produce that particular print is £21.40. So if you want a sort of wall size print, this one about 16 quid, the big one, well, whatever that was, 21, that's £21.40. The really big one, the 60-inch by 80-inch that I did a video about a while ago, that one, that probably comes out to about £28-30. And these are incidentally Epson prices for media, so this is their recommended list price for this. So the actual prices will be even lower than that, depending on which particular papers you get. If I look at that black and white print, that one used 4 millilitres of ink. It's used a little bit of all of them, of nearly all the inks, and there will be a bit. Some of that is used in just keeping the print head busy, and it's sort of a maintenance function. But we can see that print used 4 millilitres of ink. The largest one in that, it used light grey at 1.48 millilitres of ink. In fact, the matte black was only 0.6 millilitres of ink. So that, the grey gets used up fastest, and that goes for all sorts of printers. There's Canon printer here, my P5000 over there. In general, where there are grey inks, those grey inks get used up, not just for black and white, but for all sorts of pictures, because it's used to allow for stronger colours, and you produce less intense colours by using a mix of the colours and some grey. It's a well-known sort of printer mechanism for for using up less of inks. It's why you get grey inks as well. It's why they work particularly well. So that is those two there. So there you have it. That one there cost £11.64. Now the media on that, £10. Ink cost 80p, and that's for a print that size. So £11.64. Double your prices and your to cover your overheads, and if you have a market for prints this size and the volume, and you have a space for the printer, then large printing like this, the amount you can charge for prints this size is quite sizable. But remember that if you're aiming for high quality stuff, people tend not to want sort of they want more art style pictures for this. If you're producing posters and things for demos and just for decoration and stuff, you can get away with cheaper papers, but you've still got to work out how you're going to handle the actual paper and things. But anyway, a few other points about the 20500 that people have asked me questions about. I found out a bit more information about it, and I'll just rattle through these. The black enhance overcoat, yes, it is the same that you get in the P700, 900, 5300. And what that does is, in black areas on the glossy prints, if you select it, it adds in a little bit more grey to fill in the gaps between some of the ink droplets, and it produces a better coverage, reduces on some papers gloss differential, reduces also on some papers a bit of bronzing. I found when I tested the P5300 that most of the time it made very little difference. It did on a few prints, so it is not a purely marketing feature. It does exist, it does work. I was able to see it on a few prints, but really, how many people are going to notice at this size? I'm going to say probably not a lot. And it does slow the printer down a little bit if you're printing at super quality. Anyway, the other thing is, how quick can you get these prints? This printer is quite fast. It's not at sort of big industrial printer size speeds, but it'll produce a coverage of just over 19 square meters an hour of printing. Square meter is, so you can get an idea of time, but you can see how long it took when I was doing the print the other day. It has, incidentally, a mechanism for checking the state of nozzles, so it can automate some aspects of that. It's not full cleaning. I suspect, I don't know the details of it, that it's very similar to what I've got in the P5000, which does sort of a paperless nozzle check. It will be based on that sort of technology, I believe. It prints at 300 dpi as the nozzle setting. So if you are still enamored of the magic numbers for setting resolutions for printing on Epson printers, which for many years has been 360, then 300. But of course that doesn't mean anything anyway. It just sets the resolution of it. The inks, I mentioned when I was doing it that they were hot swappable. No, they are not hot swappable. The packs that you get, you can see in the video the ink walling about in it, they are not sealed or anything like that. It is a pumped system. It's not a pressurized external pressure on the bag. That's just how that works. Other features are that I didn't look at are that it has an optional a disk unit for storing jobs. It's encrypted and all stuff like that, if that matters to you. And yeah, the costs of it, I believe the current UK cost with printer and ink would come to 14,800 plus tax plus VAT, which is 20% here. But most people, I suspect, would buy the combined service and ink deal, which if you commit to a sort of minimum ink usage over a period of 3 years, you get a bundle with cheaper inks and whatever, and ongoing service. And you do not buy a 15,000 quid printer without taking out a service contract on it. Sure, it's got those little panels where you can get access to the heads and the capping station for doing cleaning and things like that. But no, this is a serious printer for serious business, even if I just play around making prints like this. Anyway, hope that's of interest. If you've got any more questions on it, I will be going back down to Epson sometime again, and we'll be having another quick look at it, because it is still one of my favourite printers, just because of the sheer size you can make prints of. Even this one here was produced on it as well. This one printed using the ABW black and white mode on that same smooth paper. And this one also would cost, I suppose this is probably about a tenner's worth. So there you go. If that, actually, I think that one's a little bit smaller. But anyway, there you go. Some more information on the 20,500. As I say, let me know if you've got any questions. Thanks for watching, and bye.